Ann Arbor, Michigan, right? Of all places, one of the now finest collections of pinball machines in the world. Had a great time there on Friday. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other stuff going on in our wonderful world of the Silver Ball here on episode 165 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast commentary of a man out of quarters. Thank you for joining us tonight, tomorrow, this week, whenever you might be listening. We're coming to you not live from beautiful San Diego, California, here on Sunday night, May 17th, 2015. What's going on? So I had the pleasure of spending some time at Clay Harrell's new... it's sort of new, about a year old now, right? Clay was on the show last year and talked about the VFW pinball project that he put up, and it's the Ann Arbor, Michigan Pinball Museum, where they hosted their second pinball showcase this past weekend, which should have just wound up a few hours ago from when I'm recording this. But I was there on Friday, so we're gonna jump right into that.
Trip reports.
So for those of you not paying attention, not knowing what I'm talking about, the Ann Arbor Michigan Pinball Show and Pinball Museum is a show, or really the opening of the pinball museum that Clay Harrell has built and put together in an old VFW hall, Veterans of Foreign Wars hall. For those of you not maybe from the United States who don't know what a VFW hall is, big building used as like a rec center for veterans and whatnot. Well, he's bought this and turned it into sort of the home base for his pinball operations and his collection. He has, an amazing collection. I want to say it was 250 games, somewhere in that range, from all eras. This is one of the coolest and best kept collections in the world, no doubt. Everything from wood rails to brand new Stern DMD games equipped with color DMDs. It is fantastic. There's almost like 20 1950s wood rails, tons of single-player 60s and 70s games. You get into the 70s multiplayer EMs, awesome collection of solid-state games from the early 80s, late 70s from Bally, and even a bunch of Stern games, like a lot of Stern games. There's, I want to say it's like 14 or 15 or 16 classic Stern games like Meteor and Galaxy and Stargazer and Viper, and you know what I'm talking about, Iron Maiden. Williams solid state games, system 3 through 7, system 11s, early Gottlieb games like system 1 games like Joker Poker, Pinball Pool. Just anything you could think of is pretty much there. Modern games basically from Addams Family on. You have everything: Funhouse, Fishtails, Doctor Who, Scared Stiff, No Good Gophers. Just anything you can think of. And then the modern games, there's Metallica, there's Tron, there's Monster Bash. It's fantastic. I cannot say enough about this collection. And if you know Clay Harrell and his history and his deep, vast knowledge of working on pinball machines, fixing pinball machines, restoring pinball machines, you should probably know what to expect as far as condition of games. It's really beautiful, and it's pretty staggering to see it all under one roof. Sort of two roofs. They have an annex with another, like 30 games or something in a building next door, which is where they held the, quote, EM World Championships we'll get into in a little bit. But, just an overview of the show. I almost don't want to... I call it a show because they call it a show, but it's not a pinball show in the way that I think a lot of people are probably thinking of a pinball show, because there were a few vendors there, but there was no speakers, no kind of side events, really. This is all about playing this collection. It's sort of, at times when I was walking through the room and looking at the games, it felt to me like I was in this kind of dream arcade that we all in the back of our heads think, man, if I win the lottery, I'm going to buy like 200 games, 250 games, and I'm going to build a place to put all my games in, and I'm just going to be able to play them all. And that's what this was like. And seeing this many games all up and running, I tried to count how many games were not running at one point. I think I got to 4. It's pretty amazing. And they were actually working on them. One of them was a wood rail game that they were working on. So I got to say, Clay also has an area where he does his repairs and work, and he's organized. The place just looks like $1 million. I mean, it's not modern and fancy, if that's what you're looking for. It's a hard floor. It's an old building, but they've got it outfitted so cool, kind of dark with neon lights. It looks like an arcade. And he has like a repair center area in the back. Super organized. His staff was just very welcoming, kind. Gush, all that stuff. It was really a great time. I really enjoyed getting to get out to Ann Arbor. If you're curious, about 45 minutes from Detroit. Flew into Detroit Airport, stayed out near Ann Arbor, and then drove down and had a great time. I do want to say that the highlight for me was actually the EM tournament that they held. And they dubbed it the EM World Championships, and it was sponsored by Domino's Pizza. And I think I have friends at Domino's Pizza now, or just Domino's as it may be. But I had a lot of fun in this tournament. I really, obviously if you've been following the show, you've seen and you've probably heard me take more of an interest in competitive pinball and tournament pinball. It's fun. I love it. I love the competition. And there's something really... I don't want to use the word like magical or special exactly, but there's a great combination that is like a one-day tournament, or, competitive pinball, that situation, when you cross that with classic and EM type games that are shorter ball times, not deep in rules, just really more about trying to, score points through completing certain tasks on the pinball field, on the play field. And it just works out really well. And even I talked to some people in a tournament who haven't played a lot of EMs. In fact, a couple people told me, I've never played any of these games before. And there were games in the tournament like Captain Fantastic and Old Chicago, Fireball, some classic big names in EM games and older games. So it wasn't a bunch of obscure games, although there were obscure games in there, which was also neat. But, there were people there who hadn't played any of these games but said how much fun it was. Because generally, and the layout of this tournament led to that too, I think. There was I believe there's between 30 and 40 entrants into the tournament. So, a pretty manageable number. And so they were able to run a 3 strikes style tournament where you played heads up against a random person. Everybody put their name on a piece of paper. The paper went in a bucket. They drew names. So the first name was drawn versus the second name drawn. And then you picked out of another bucket a piece of paper that had a name of a game on it. And so you got a random opponent and a random game. And if you lose 3 times to 3, random opponents, you're out. And I loved it. It was a really great way. And every game was best 2 out of 3. So you didn't just have one shot at the game heads up. It was best 2 out of 3. So there was a little bit of confusion, I think, at the start of is it 2 out of 3? Who goes first? And I would love to see anybody when they run a tournament. And I did talk to some people who hadn't played in a lot of tournaments, and in fact, some people that this was their first tournament. They were sort of surprised at the laid back approach to it. But if you've played enough pinball in local pinball leagues and tournaments, we're a laid back group. But I would love to see a tiny bit more formality when people are paying money to play in a competition, just so everyone's clear on the rules. But it was best 2 out of 3, and you played a random game. I really liked it. It's a lot of fun. If I would encourage anybody with a manageable size group of people who wants to run a quick tournament. The whole thing took about 4 hours, maybe 3.5, 4 hours. So not a whole long time, but it was good. The games that I played, just for the record, just for posterity's sake, if nothing else, I played Fast Draw, which was a win for me. Solar City, which was a win. Fun Fest, which was not fun. Might have been a fest, but it was not fun. It was a loss for me. Pyramid, Flip Flop, 4 Million BC, Old Chicago, all wins. And then, actually, there was another loss in there somewhere. I'm actually forgetting the other game I lost on. Solar City, I believe, possibly. And then Rogo was where I lost and was sent packing. However, friendly listeners, in case you're wondering, I made it to the round where there's only 6 of us left. So literally, I lost in what would end up being 4th, 5th, or 6th place. I guess we were all tied for 4th, and if you want to do that properly. So I won a $20 Domino's gift card in a little coaster thingy, or a little can cooler koozie thing. So, go me, right? Mr. EM coming through for you. Had a lot of fun. I actually played really well. I was pretty impressed on some of my gameplay. Some of these games I'd never played before. I'd never played Flip Flop before, which was a fun game. And as I started figuring out, oh, that's what it is, I played Flip Flop twice in a row. Because it was random draw, so you could actually play the same person twice, and you could play the same game over and over and over, potentially. So I played Flip Flop twice, lost one, won one. And once I figured that game out, I kind of liked it. So it was good times. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. There were a couple really good players in there who I could just see the skill dripping off their hands as they made their shots over and over. It was a lot of fun. So what was nice about playing in the way they had the Friday day at the museum set up was if you played in the tournament, when you were knocked out of the tournament, you then had immediate entry into the main hall with all the games. And all the games were turned off, but they told you just, flip on the game you wanted to play, go play the game. And move forward. So the sting of losing and getting that third strike and being knocked out of the tournament was quickly softened by, hey, look, 250 pinball machines. Let's go play. And that was a lot of fun. So I got to go in, and realistically, there was less than 30 people or so, maybe less than 40 people in the building playing games. So we kind of had the run of the place, which was great because I could just go literally play anything I wanted. And I did. I played a lot of pinball, and I played from, when I got knocked out, probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock or something like that. And I played till, well past dinner time, and when I was starving and hungry and left, and ended up kind of calling it a day at that point, exhausted after a week-long work trip, and had a lot of pinball, and ended up heading back to the hotel to record this show, which I didn't do, as you can now tell here on Sunday night. But, what I would say about this show, if you're thinking about making this trip out next time they run one of their shows, is bring a friend. Bring someone to play heads up with. I got to meet some folks. I met some great people, some people I sort of quasi knew from Pinside. I met Hilton Weissnow from Pinside. He and I were playing a tournament together, chatting about stuff. And he and his friend were playing sort of skins games. They had like a pad of paper, and I think they said they were going to play 40 games. And I don't know if it was best 2 out of 3 or just one game on each, but basically $1 a skin. So if you're familiar with that sort of play, kind of like from golf where you play $1 a hole, and they're just keeping track. And when I saw them midway through their game, I think they had played something like 16 or 17 games, and they were dead even. So no blood, as they might say. Great way to do it with a collection like that. So bring a friend. When I was playing with folks that I had met, I had a lot of fun just kind of going through with games and playing things, and games that I might not normally, think to play in a collection like that. Like I might not play Metallica because I, own one. But when I'm playing with someone else, it's like, oh yeah, let's play Metallica, and I'll show you kind of how some of the shots work or how some of it goes. And, you show me about this game, and it was just a lot of fun. So definitely, if you're anywhere near this, and I know there's some people who made some long 6-7 hour drives to get there. If you're anywhere near Clay's establishment next time he runs this, I would absolutely say go and do it. And if they do a deal like they offered this time where they have a tournament and then early access, you can't beat that. You just can't beat that. So the EM World Championship. What I would say about this tournament, as much fun as it was, I guess I'm not fooling anybody. I know there was nobody named Sharp. There was no Keith Elwins. There's no Bone Karens. There was no Bob Matthews. There's a lot of people not playing there in the EM World Championship. So maybe we might want to think about calling this particular tournament the, Ann Arbor EM Championships or something like that. The EM Ann Arbor Championships. I don't know. I don't know that I would, in my head, think of it as a World Championships other than they dubbed it that, and it was on a fantastic collection of EM games. That could be a real special thing for them, though. I think that, and I don't know if Clay and his crew are interested in that sort of idea, but, they cap the amount of tickets sold. And somebody said they capped it at the amount of games they have, which if that's the case, that's pretty cool. So there's, around 200, 250 people there. And I actually didn't see Saturday, which was the busier day. So it's not overcrowded, and kudos to them for clearly not doing this just for the money. This is not a money grab. This is not how much money can I make on my project. He wants to show off his collection and let people enjoy it. That's pretty great, a great concept right there. But if they were thinking about doing a tournament and being in that sort of world, they have the collection, they have the space, they have the right facilities to really do something great up there. And it'll be interesting to see if they go down that route or not. Because as far as I know, this tournament was not reporting to the IFPA for Whopper points. This was really just for the fun of it and for some prizes. So, in any case, thank you to Clay, Harrell, and all the folks up there who volunteer and spend their time keeping this amazing collection up. And I'm so honored to have gotten to play it and hang around and see all the games. So, great time up in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
5 fast thoughts.
All right, 5 fast thoughts. And you know me, I like to talk a lot. So the term fast is sort of relative, I guess, or subjective as it may be. All right, number 1. Interesting bit of news, and this is kind of funny because on Saturday I was catching up with Facebook, and I couldn't help but notice how many posts Stern Pinball had made on Facebook about different shots of the KISS Pro playfield. And also, not just the posts they made, but sort of the voice with what they were speaking was, I guess, just different. There was a lot of wheeze and a lot of like, I don't know, the vibe had changed. And I just thought of it real briefly, like, oh, that's interesting. They're really going to town. And in my head, it was all about KISS. So I thought, well, maybe KISS really asked them to like step up their social media. Come to find out through Pinside, reading a post on Pinside, that Pinsider and past guest of Coast to Coast Pinball, Jared, formerly Baku Sean on Pinside, is now apparently heading up the Stern Pinball social media accounts. He is the one posting to Instagram now and Facebook. And that explains sort of the different look and, I guess, feel of the posts. Definitely output has increased, and that's actually been a little bit of a piece of contention for some folks in the Pinside thread about this, that there may be too many posts, and hopefully they are just going to they're going to settle into a nice level of Facebook posting, because you don't want to be the spamming company. You don't want to be because I try actually on my personal Facebook not to like companies much at all. My personal Facebook is mainly my family, friends, and then, maybe a few people who I've met in the hobby that I think are interesting or I kind of want to keep up with. But that's my personal Facebook. My Coast to Coast Pinball page is mostly, different companies and news stuff in pinball, and things that I want to follow so I can, be informed for the show. And they're dominating my feed right now. It's like I'm looking at the top 10 posts on my Coast to Coast Pinball Facebook feed. 8 of them are Stern Pinball right now. Maybe 8 out of 11, it looks like. And that's a lot. And so you don't want to overdo it. I get that there's excitement. KISS is coming out. But I would maybe put a post together with lots of photos and don't overdo it a little too much. In fact, just tonight, I hadn't even seen this one yet till I pulled up Facebook to look at it. In the last hour, they've put up a first look at the Love Gun multi-ball start sequence. So I'll have to check that out and comment on that later. Fast thought number 2, also kind of concerning social media posts. John Papaduke has released a few videos since our last show where I had some comments about needing to see some action come from there, and just thinking that it was really a shame that there was lack of communication to this level. And it's been said, I'm clearly not saying that for the first time, nor am I the only one to say it. But since then, there's been a couple videos pop up on Facebook, sort of about parts of Magic Girl. We're seeing more pieces of the game. In fact, we saw a custom shooter rod that looks like a pinball, like on a ball photo, and then we saw a video that was, curious at best, where John is actually narrating like an iPhone type video, where he's showing us that the glass to Magic Girl needs to be special ordered a few inches longer than normal pinball size glass, because the size of the cabinet, because these are custom built cabinets that John's building himself, the cabinet is sized in a way that pinball glass doesn't doesn't cover the hole. So he's explaining how they have to order glass. And I understand that the idea of these games is these ultimate rare games and, et cetera, et cetera. We've covered it before, but I don't like that at all. I don't like odd size pinball glass or odd-sized cabinets that don't fit. That to me is a negative rather than a positive, I guess. So it was kind of an odd one. And then he posted a pretty detailed video showing the back box and the cabinet fit and finish, where he goes into really interesting detail about the vents, the latch, the way that they've mounted the head to the cabinet. He goes through the laser cut metal pieces, I'm blanking on the name, but the fold down pieces, the whatever. Watch the video. It's the Pinball Inventor at Facebook, and again, it's like. What's actually also interesting is in this video we get a little shot of the back box of Magic Girl, and there seems to be, obviously the speakers are in the artwork with these cool metal laser cut rings around the speakers, but there also seems to be some sort of mechanical thing happening in the back box. So we'll have to dig deeper into that. But the problem with all of this is, no one questions the fact that they can get artwork on a cabinet and build a cabinet and whatnot 4 years in, but where's the game? I mean, that's the real question is, show us a pinball getting hit by flippers going around a playfield. So, but they've ordered ramps apparently, and we're working on it. Interesting times though. So it was interesting to see something come out of the Zidware camp in the last few days as far as videos on the game. I don't know, reactionary maybe. Fast thought number 3. Speaking of pinball developers, hats off to Mr. Ben Heck and Dorn. It's been interesting to watch his America's Most Haunted version 18 thread and the back and forths he's been willing to and seem to gladly be having on that thread about working on rules and updates for America's Most Haunted, which I, of course, am an owner of and am very interested in. And they're talking about tournament mode settings and really getting deep into it. The one setting I could say that I would really love changed about America's Most Haunted, and it's pretty basic, but when you lose a ball down the side out lanes, on most modern games, when the ball hits the rollover, you hear a sound, which you do on America's Most Haunted, but if you hit that during the ball save period, when the ball save is still going, a ball is launched immediately when it hits the rollover, not when the ball gets down to the ball trough. And it frustrates me greatly when a ball goes down the side and then sort of bounces down around by the ball trough and doesn't go in the ball trough, and I watch the light go off. There's also no grace period. When that ball save light goes off, you're done. So sometimes the ball goes through the out lane during the ball save, and then I'm like, oh no, I'll get that back. And it just doesn't happen because of those two things. So I'd love to see the ball auto-launch right away when it hits the rollover, but that's, just me. Fast thought number 4. Speaking of Mr. Ben Heck, and speaking of Hilton Weissnow on Pinside, who I talked about earlier, Hilton reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in coming to a tournament in Madison, Wisconsin in August called Mad Rollin' Pinball. I think some of you guys probably have heard of that tournament before. It's put on by the I want to say it's the Madison Pinball Group League. I'm Googling as fast as I can, but the show moves faster than I do. Madison Pinball, yeah. So they run monthly tournaments. They're like a group based around the Madison area, obviously. And Mad Rollin' Pinball 2015 is going to be taking place in August. You'd think I'd have these dates, but I clearly do not. But he invited me, and that was the whole thing. But it's an interesting tournament in that it's a team tournament, teams of 2. And they play pin golf in the morning and then a pinball style event in the afternoon. And I needed a teammate. And Hilton knew that. And Hilton said, hey, I know somebody who might be your teammate. And he suggested Ben Heck, because Ben Heck is local. And I thought that was a great idea. So I reached out to Ben. Ben said he was in. So I'm teaming up with Ben Heck. And Ben said, hey, man, I'm not that great. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm not that great. So we'll be perfect. It'll work out great. We're looking for a team name. Ben and I have gone back and forth a little bit about it. I think I like my suggestion so far best. If we're going to go Ben Heck and Nate Shivers, call it The Heck with Shivers. I mean, can you top that? Can you top that, friendly listener? I think that's pretty good. So far, The Heck with Shivers is the team name out in front for me. All right, fast thought number 5. I only bring this up because it was so prominent on Pinside all weekend, and it sort of stuck in my head. But Mr. Brian Kelly, who I think a lot of you guys know from his his restoration work and his participation in Spooky Pinball and Spooky Pinball's podcast. Brian Kelly posted yesterday or earlier today, I believe, that he lost his father to a bout with cancer, and it's really unfortunate. His dad would have been 88 yesterday, which my father died in his mid to late 80s, and so anytime I read stuff like that, it hits home really close. Brian Kelly, outwardly posted that. I think he's probably looking out to the pinball community that he loves for a little bit of support, and I guess this is just my little moment to say, hey man, all the best, take care, and I'm sure your father was a great guy. So there's my 5 fast thoughts for tonight.
Bowen's Cheat Sheet.
All right, today we are going to talk to Bowen about Taxi, the Mark Ritchie, brilliantly simple but brilliantly brutal game, and how to play this if you find it in a competition or in a tournament. What do I do? How do I play Taxi?
Taxi is a terrific game, and Taxi is very much about grinding for multi-balls and trying to get a jackpot. To get the jackpot on Taxi, you have to pick up all 5 passengers. The Gorby, the Drac, and the Santa Claus are all pretty straightforward shots. But then there are 2 drop target banks, the Marilyn or Lola drops and the Pinbot drops. And those are obnoxious. You're going to probably lose your ball trying for either of those drop target banks. So the trick is don't shoot them unless you're in multi-ball. You can pick up passengers during multi-ball. So the main objective that I want to go for is to lock a ball for multi-ball, which is on the right-hand side, and then release that ball using the left ramp and use my multi-balls to pick up passengers. It tells you during the multi-ball, like shoot ramps or relock the balls for express lane or whatever. Don't listen to that. You want to get the jackpot. So you want to pick up as many passengers as you can during that time. And those multi-balls don't last very long. They end fast. They're only 2 balls, and if the posts are out on the sides, the ball can just fly down the out lane, and all of a sudden you're back to single ball play. You want to use as much time as possible during the multi-ball getting those drop target banks completed so that you can concentrate back on the multi-ball again.
On the skill shot, are you trying to get the most points, or are you trying to pick up a passenger?
Yes.
Yes.
And it depends on where you are. If the only passenger lid is a drop target bank, then that's my priority. I absolutely want to pick up that passenger and plunge to 25. It also depends on what ball you're on, because the skill shot is multiplied by the ball number. So if you're on ball 1, you're only sacrificing 75,000 points to pick up a passenger, getting the 25 instead of 100. If it's ball 3, you're sacrificing 225,000 to do the same thing, and you'll know more at that point if you're in match play about what kind of score you need to achieve to win, or what kind of score you need to achieve a good qualifying point. So on ball 2, ball 3, the decision is a little tighter, and I usually will go for the points at that time. Picking up a 75 is nice too, and I would suggest players try for the 75 instead of absolutely guaranteeing them the 100, because if you flop over the 100 down to the 1,000, it feels awful. That's
brutal, yeah. When you're in the multi-ball, it being a 2-ball multi-ball, are you trying to cradle up on one flipper and then hit those drops from the other?
That's ideal to get trapped up on both flippers, and then you even get the chance to use your other ball as a blocker and shoot the ball into the other ball if you see something happening. More often than not, you don't even get to a full cradle. And I would say just as soon as the multi-ball starts, just wail on the drops if you've got the Maryland bank necessary to pick up. Because you don't know. It might only last 3 seconds. Yep. And if you can get that bank down, you have the progression that you need in order to get the jackpot. And the jackpot is the Gorby shot. Depending on the machine, it can be lit for only a few seconds, or it can be lit for a long time. And that jackpot is typically worth about $1.5 million, but it's a carryover jackpot on some machines up to $4 million.
All right, let's get into some email. I encourage anybody that wants to email the show to do so. You can email us here at Coast2Coast. That's the number 2. Coast, the number 2, Coast. Pinball at gmail.com. I read everything. I reply to some, and a few things make the show. All right, so first email. This comes from Eddie in Nampa, Idaho. I know Nampa, Idaho. Been listening since the very first show and remember thinking you wouldn't last 1 year. I was wrong and glad I was. Awesome to hear you say we are almost to the 2-year anniversary of Coast to Coast Pinball. How do I join Team Coast to Coast? Well, Eddie, Team Coast to Coast is one of those things that's very, very real but doesn't actually exist. So it's sort of a mystery. I'll figure it out. Eddie, I remember sending you a t-shirt at least once, so maybe you're already part of the team. Eddie goes on to write, I know KISS isn't even out yet, but what do you think will be the next Stern title? Could we see a Vault Edition this year? And do you think Game of Thrones rumors are true? All right. Here's the problem with this show. This show got bigger, and now people feed me information. So I get fed all this stuff, and I don't want to blow anybody's cover because I like getting to know all this stuff, but it also keeps me from speculating a lot on here. Do I think the Game of Thrones rumors are true? Yes. Do I think that will be the next Stern title? Probably. And could we see a Vault Edition this year? I don't think so. I feel like not. I was at Midwest Gaming Classic when I was in a group of people talking to Gary Stern, and somebody asked about Vault Editions, and he said, yeah, we love doing Vault Editions. We like doing, he said, quote, studio games, and that's like the Wo Nelly game and maybe something else by somebody else at some point. And then somebody said, would you ever redo Batman Dark Knight? And he said, I would love to redo Batman, but the license is really hard on that one. So that's all the information I have in the world. I don't know. There's probably people on Pinside that know a lot more than I do. Because the thing about the pinball community is it's pretty small. And if a company is securing rights to a license or going to need parts for something, somebody knows. And that info leaks out. So if you read close enough and really follow those, what's the next Stern title, your answers are usually in there, Eddie. So, Eddie, team member of Team Coast to Coast, just doesn't know it yet. What else we got? All right, this is from Craig in, looks like Springfield, Missouri. All right. Hey Nate, just listened to your last show and I'm really jealous I can't make it out to the Ann Arbor show. Let me know what your favorite games are. Thanks for all the hours of work you put in. Well, you're welcome. My favorite games at the Ann Arbor, Michigan Pinball Show. You know what? I had a blast playing all the EMs in the tournament. I really liked them. EMs, when you're playing in sort of a competitive situation like that, so much fun. Like, so much fun. Just out playing, I kind of was going, I played a bunch of Tales of the Arabian Nights because it's a game I don't see out as much anymore. A lot of the places I play don't have that game out any longer, so I had been playing it on the Pinball Arcade on my iPad and just working on a few of the scoring strategies that people talk about on that game, so I tried to use them in practice and did okay. Great game, though. It was a lot of fun. I was playing an EM, and I'm trying to remember what it was that I just kept playing over and over because I was trying to beat my high score, and I want to say it was... I'm totally blanking. This is like the worst answer to a question ever. It's the game that's set up a lot like Centigrade 37, but it's not Centigrade 37. But it's same era, Gottlieb game. Can't remember. Don't know. What else did we play? I played their Firepower bunch because I think you guys listening know that I'm kind of a big mark for Firepower. Something more weird that I played. I'm trying to think because I played some games that you don't see. Transport of the Rescue. Played some Transport of the Rescue. That was good. Played Swords of Fury, Lion Man. That whole scene. Played some of that. Played Black Belt. Ever played Black Belt? That's a welcome to the D list just waiting to happen. You have to do that. Spirit. They had a beautiful Spirit that was just fantastic. Played that. Really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think what else was really good. They had linked NBA Fast Breaks, which I didn't actually ever get to play anybody because I don't really love that game. But that was cool to see. It was cool to see people doing that. You know what I played that I don't know that if I had ever played this before. It was Phantom of the Opera. It's a Data East game, 1990, alphanumeric game. I guess I've seen one before and thought, oh, play that later. Maybe at Papa I've seen one, but I'd never actually played it. So I played like 3 or 4 games on Phantom of the Opera, tried to get that down. It's an interesting game. It's kind of like that like Hook kind of era game where the artwork's kind of busy and whatnot. But all right, not bad. I'll take that over, like, what else came out in, like, 1990? I would take Phantom of the Opera over, like, Data East The Simpsons. Absolutely. Take it over Back to the Future, probably. Also kind of that same era game. They also had, they had a bowler. They had like an EM bowling game in there. They had some other type of like games. Or, they had a Zoltan fortune teller from like, the movie Big, right when you walk in, which just really led to that whole arcade feel. I mean, there's so many cool games. I mean, there's just really a bunch. They had a Time Fantasy, which was really neat. I don't know. I could go through. The old Sterns. I mentioned that earlier in the trip report. The Iron Maiden was awesome. That was a lot of fun. And they do have an Orbiter 1 there, for those of you who want to play the madness that is Orbiter 1. So, in any case, thank you, Craig, for the email. I appreciate it. And then this email's fun. It's from Jeff. Hi, Nate. I just found your podcast a few weeks ago, and it's doing a fantastic job of getting me through the workday. I listened to the 8 or 10 most recent episodes and decided to go back and start from the beginning. Just came across episode number 6, where you predict a new KISS pinball from Stern. Pretty awesome foresight, almost 2 years in advance. Just wanted to remind you of your extrasensory pinball powers. Thanks again for the great addition to the pinball community. I hope we have the opportunity to meet up at some point. So I emailed Jeff. Clearly, I think if you know me, this is what I emailed Jeff. I emailed Jeff, "Hi, Jeff." Of course I did. Because I think the subject of his email was Nate predicts the next Stern pinball 2 years in advance. And I wrote, of course I did. And then I wrote, wait, I did? Go me. Episode 6. Those old episodes scare me. So let's take a little wander back, shall we, to episode 6 of Coast to Coast Pinball. The new Rolling Stones game, I've told you, I can't stand it. I'm really curious. Could there be another KISS machine? Could we see a modern KISS? I almost think you could do KISS with like, the big stage show that they do. If you've ever seen a KISS concert, I've been to 2 of their retirement tours. They keep trying to retire and they don't retire. I've seen them retire twice, 4 years apart, 5 years apart. I think that could be a really well done modern Stern type theme now. The problem is, by all accounts, Gene Simmons, who does most of the business side of that band, is just really difficult to deal with. And if he's not going to make a whole lot of money on a project, you're not going to license their theme nowadays. So that might be a long shot. But what else could be out there? There it is, a little blast from the past. That was July of 2013, I believe. I kind of hate listening to those old shows. I have this urge to go delete the first 100 shows off the face of the planet. I won't, but I hated hearing that on some level. Anyway, I have heard Gene Simmons is tough to deal with. I may have told this on the show before, but my former company that I used to work for tried to do a bass guitar with Gene Simmons. And the owner of the company actually went to Gene Simmons' house in LA and tried to have a business meeting, and it was so confrontational about money that we ended up not doing it. And I always had that in my head. So, but apparently everything's worked out great. Stern seems to be full speed ahead on KISS Pinball. While I was pulling that clip for you, I went and watched this Love Gun multi-ball start mode video that Stern posted, and it's interesting because it's on like a whitewood with a bunch of contraptions on the whitewood that don't exist on the playfield now. And it's just really a shot. I guess it was, ball returns that weren't cool, metal ball guides, probably working stuff like early on. And the head isn't there, obviously, too. So, it shows the ball locking onto the back of the playfield and magnetized across and then dropping into the thing. It's an okay trick. I don't think it's that amazing or anything like that. Something threw me, though, towards the end of the video. You hear the people talking. It sounds like there's 2 people working on this little video. And one of them says, yeah, and you'll have the video of him. And then it cuts off as if, was there plans for a video screen? on some version of Kiss Pinball at some point? Was there going to be a video screen on an LE maybe like they did on WrestleMania? I don't know. Anybody else catch that? Go watch that video and see if I'm out of my mind. Just heard that tonight. So, also, to kind of loop back around to something I was talking about on 5 Fast Thoughts, the amount of posting that we're now getting from Stern's Facebook page. I was reading the comments to that video, and a lot of people seem to really like it. I'm reading comments like, loving the stepped-up Facebook activity from Stern Pinball. And Stern Pinball replies, lots more to come. Stay tuned. And then somebody, this is how you launch a pinball machine. Keep it coming. Stern Pinball with a smiley face. So, maybe it's one of those darned if you do, darned if you don't, where Stern was real tight-lipped about everything, and people kind of complained. Hey, I complained. I hated the way they were launching games. This has been the best launch of a pinball machine for Stern by far since I've been watching. But having some of these games just kind of trickle out into the internet the way they were was kind of embarrassing from a marketing standpoint. It was just too bad. And this one had the video and then everything went live the next day. This is the way it much better. Still could be even better. I think that a video with the actual game going sure would be perfect, but I'll take it. I'll take what they did on Kiss versus what we saw on some of the past games where it was just sort of trickled out in a, I don't know, not so great manner. Not a very powerful launch before. So nice to see that. And, some people are going to say, oh, they don't post enough. They don't tell us enough. And then they start posting a lot. And then it's, oh, they post too much. So I don't know. You can't please them all, right? Trust me. I know. You cannot please them all. In any case, that is going to be episode 165 of Coast to Coast Pinball. A little shorter episode tonight. I gotta get some sleep. I need some beauty rest. Trust me, I need lots and lots and lots of beauty rest. But we got lots of good stuff coming up. Some fun topics we have for the shows in the next few weeks. Kind of turning my attention towards Atlanta and the Southern Fried Game Room Expo. We'll have some news on that coming up, and that'll be happening in June. So summer's coming, folks. Summer is coming. Spring is here in full force all around the country. I've been on both coasts and in the middle of the country. It's beautiful out right now. So don't forget to go play pinball, even when you're out boating and golfing and doing all that stuff we do. Find some pinball on location. I'm going to get out and play some more local tournaments when I can. Keep the emails coming. T-shirts are available. I think I owe a couple people T-shirts that ordered before my last trip, so those will get in the mail this week. I think I'm pretty good on all sizes of both navy and the Heather Cardinal red color of Coast to Coast Pinball T-shirts, so we're pretty caught up there. So let me know if you're interested in that. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again really soon. Take care.